Depression. Around 300 million people worldwide are affected by depression, which corresponds to about 4% of the population. There is a noticeable difference between genders. Around 5% of women and 3% of men are affected. In the age group of 15 to 44, depression ranks first in terms of disability-adjusted life years, DALYs, meaning the number of healthy years lost due to illness or premature death. Depression is a mental illness that slowly drains the color from everyday life. In the brain, systems that regulate mood and motivation begin to function differently. Neurotransmitters such as serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine normally regulate pleasure, emotional balance, and energy. In depression, the brain's reward system becomes less active while the stress system becomes overactive. As a result, every effort feels heavier. Positive experiences barely trigger any emotional response. This process often begins gradually. You wake up and the day already feels heavy. Body and mind are deeply exhausted. Your senses begin to change. Food suddenly tastes like nothing. Things that once excited you now leave you completely indifferent. Simple decisions suddenly require too much energy. Your body reflects this change. Your heart races, even with mild stress. Your muscles are tense and your breathing becomes shallow. Even normal activities like brushing your teeth or taking a shower feel like a marathon. School, work, and relationships demand energy you simply don't have. Many people still believe that depression is just simple sadness. They say things like, think positive, or just go for a walk. They don't understand that your brain, in this condition, struggles to generate the signals that make motivation and joy possible. It feels as if you are dragging a heavy weight behind you. That weight slows you down and pulls you further and further away from life. Bipolar disorder. An estimated 37 to 40 million people worldwide live with bipolar disorder. That's about 0.4 to 0.5% of the population. Unlike depression, it affects men and women at nearly equal rates. It usually begins in early adulthood. Globally, bipolar disorder accounts for around 8.5 million years of healthy life lost due to illness or premature death. The condition drives your mood and energy into two extreme states: mania and depression. In mania, your brain floods you with an overwhelming surge of energy. You barely sleep and feel invincible, your thoughts racing so fast that your speech can hardly keep up. You talk rapidly, becoming restless when others can't keep up. Risky decisions feel brilliant and irresistible. You constantly start new projects, book spontaneous trips, and follow every impulse. Meeting new people feels incredibly easy. You feel unstoppable, as if you had superpowers. During a manic phase, you often lose your sense of limits and spend money you don't actually have. The chaos in your mind begins to spill into your life. You become irritable and people start to pull away. In severe episodes, your sense of reality can begin to blur. After hours, days, or weeks, the shift comes. The energy collapses. Things that felt exciting just moments ago suddenly feel empty. The strength is gone. You fall into a deep state of exhaustion and depression. The contrast makes the crash even harder. You remember the energy and the joy of being alive, but your body can no longer access either. These swings affect every part of your life. Plans fall apart, relationships come under strain. Decisions made during mania return later as difficult consequences. Bipolar disorder is a serious condition that forces you from one extreme to the other, and you try desperately to hold on to your balance, while the ground beneath your feet feels like quicksand. Panic disorder. About 1 to 2% of people experience panic disorder at some point in their lives. This has a noticeable impact on the healthcare system. Around a quarter of all suspected heart attacks in emergency rooms turn out to be panic attacks. The economic burden is also significant, with average costs of about $5,900 per patient per year. The process behind this happens in the brain. Systems that are meant to detect danger become overly sensitive. The amygdala, the brain's fear center, triggers the body's survival response even when no real threat exists. A panic attack comes on suddenly without any warning. It sends your body into an alarm state that feels like a life-threatening emergency. Your heart pounds against your ribs. Your heart rate can rise to as high as 180 beats per minute. Your chest tightens and your breathing becomes shallow and strained. Sweat runs down your back. Your hands go numb. A wave of dizziness makes the room spin around you like a carousel. In that moment, your brain treats the situation as a deadly catastrophe, a heart attack, a stroke, the feeling that you are about to die. The stronger the fear becomes, the more intense the symptoms. The attack usually peaks within minutes, then slowly fades, leaving your body exhausted and drained. But the real trap comes afterward. After the first attack, the fear of another one begins. You start avoiding places where the panic has happened before. You keep asking yourself the same question: what if it happens again? This constant state of anticipation keeps your body on high alert and makes new attacks more likely. Your world slowly starts to shrink. You barely leave your home. Instead of feeling safe in your own body, you begin to fear what your own nervous system might trigger next. This disorder doesn't just take away moments. It takes away your sense of safety within your own body. Social anxiety disorder. Around 301 million people worldwide live with social anxiety disorder. People with this condition have significantly more healthcare visits than the general population. Teenagers with social anxiety are about 3 times more likely to miss school. This condition turns everyday moments into situations filled with fear and self-doubt. Your brain treats being observed or judged by others as a real physical threat. It floods your body with stress hormones before a single word is even spoken. Walking into a room full of people feels like stepping onto a stage under harsh, blinding lights. You feel exposed and believe that every eye is on you. Even before you speak, your mind fills with catastrophic thoughts. What if I say something wrong? What if my voice starts shaking? What if everyone notices how insecure I am? Your body reacts immediately. Your heart pounds in your chest. Your hands start to tremble uncontrollably. Sweat runs down your back. A low, constant noise begins to fill your mind. Words and sentences you had just moments ago suddenly disappear and you blank out. Even long after the interaction is over, your thoughts keep returning to it. Your brain replays small moments again and again, turning minor mistakes into major catastrophes. Over time, you begin to avoid situations that trigger this fear. Opportunities for connection gradually disappear as your fear of judgment grows stronger than your desire to connect. Social anxiety creates a painful contradiction. You become an observer of a life you actually want to be part of, slowly fading into invisibility. Generalized anxiety disorder. Around 3 to 6% of people worldwide experience generalized anxiety disorder. Women are affected more often than men. The condition often begins in early adulthood and tends to persist over long periods. The constant inner tension leads to significant limitations in daily life, at work, and in social relationships. Generalized anxiety turns normal worries into a stream of thoughts you can't switch off. In your brain, the areas responsible for detecting potential threats are running at full speed. Even minor everyday situations can trigger this response. A surge of chemical messengers floods your body, putting you in a state of extreme alertness, ready for threats that don't actually exist. In generalized anxiety, your brain remains stuck in a defensive mode that never fully switches off. For you, there is no signal that everything is safe. Your worries focus on the most fundamental aspects of your life, like your health, money, family, and work. You feel excessive concern and find yourself constantly ruminating on possible problems. Your body reflects this inner pressure. Your shoulders tense up, your stomach tightens, your heart races. Restful sleep becomes almost impossible because your mind continues scanning for threats even at night. The constant vigilance trying to avoid every possible risk exhausts your brain. Friends and family offer well-meaning advice. They say things like, "Just calm down," or "Stop worrying so much." But generalized anxiety is not something you can control with logic alone. You begin to avoid more and more situations, and your world becomes smaller and smaller. While life moves on outside, you remain trapped in a prison of fear. Post-traumatic stress disorder. The global prevalence of post-traumatic stress disorder is around 3.9% in the general population. In conflict zones and war regions, it rises significantly, averaging about 23.5%, with some studies reporting peaks of up to 47%. Among military veterans, especially those exposed to intense combat in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, prevalence can reach up to 30%. The societal costs are also substantial, with an estimated $63 billion per year in the United States alone. Post-traumatic stress disorder develops when your brain struggles to return to a state of safety after a deeply distressing experience. A severe accident, violence, abuse, war, or natural disasters, any moment of overwhelming danger or helplessness can permanently change how your brain responds to fear. PTSD is diagnosed when this stress and fear response persists for at least 1 month. The brain's fear centers become hyperactive, while the systems meant to process memories begin to fail. Because of this imbalance, the traumatic memory can suddenly return as a flashback. A flashback feels very different from a normal memory. It can be triggered by a smell, a sound, or a familiar place. You aren't just remembering the past, your brain is convinced it's happening right now. Your body responds immediately. Your heart races. Your breathing becomes shallow. Every muscle tenses. The same reactions as during the original danger. This distressing pattern begins to shape your daily life. You start avoiding places or situations that might remind you of the trauma. Your brain remains in a constant state of alertness, scanning the environment for potential threats. This state is called hypervigilance. It also affects your sleep, which is often disrupted by nightmares. This constant state of alertness also changes your emotions. You may feel numb or disconnected from the people around you. Anger can flare up at the smallest triggers. You find it difficult to concentrate because part of your brain is constantly searching for danger. PTSD traps your mind in the moment of danger. Your life continues, but your attention is repeatedly pulled back to the moment where you experienced something overwhelming.